They had ruled for 165 million years, and they had 60 seconds left. The sun rose over the Yucatan Peninsula on a morning that seemed like any other. A female Triceratops, let's call her Scar for the mark above her eye, bent her massive head to drink from a crystal stream. Around her, the forest hummed with life. Pteranodons circled overhead. Insects the size of your fist buzzed through humid air. This was Earth at its most alive, a world that had never known winter, where reptiles had grown to impossible sizes. Scar was 30 years old, ancient for her kind. She'd survived droughts, floods, and the jaws of Tyrannosaurus rex. She'd raised 7 young. Her herd trusted her experience, followed her to the best feeding grounds. But experience couldn't prepare her for what was coming. Because 66 million miles away, something had been traveling toward this exact moment for millions of years: a rock. 6 miles wide, moving at 45,000 miles per hour. And it would arrive in 3, 2, 1. At 10:37 a.m. local time, the asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere over the Gulf of Mexico. For Scar and every creature within 1,000 miles, there was no warning, just light. Blinding, burning light that turned the sky into a furnace. The asteroid struck the shallow sea with a force of 10 billion atomic bombs. Instantly, rock that had been the ocean floor was vaporized. A crater 12 miles deep punched through the Earth's crust in seconds. The shock wave moved faster than sound itself. Trees that had stood for centuries were ripped from the ground like grass. Scar's herd scattered in blind panic as the forest exploded around them. But the shock wave was just the beginning. Trillions of tons of vaporized rock shot upward at escape velocity, so fast it punched through the atmosphere and into space. For a brief, terrible moment, there was silence as the debris arced upward, and then it began to fall back. Imagine standing beneath a meteor shower, except instead of a few shooting stars, it's millions, billions. The entire sky became a sea of streaking fire. Each piece of molten rock, some the size of boulders, some the size of mountains, glowed white-hot as it screamed back through the atmosphere. The air temperature began to rise, 100 degrees, 200, 500. Forests on every continent burst into flames simultaneously, not from the impact, they were thousands of miles away, but from the radiant heat of the burning sky itself. It was like being inside an oven set to broil. Scar pressed herself against the rock wall of a cliff, her thick hide blistering. Smaller dinosaurs, the ones caught in the open, simply cooked where they stood. This was the sky that burned, and it burned for hours. Those who survived the burning sky faced a new nightmare: the darkness. The impact had ejected so much material into the atmosphere that it formed a shroud around the entire planet. Within hours, the sun dimmed. Within days, it would disappear entirely. Scar limped from her refuge. Of her herd of 6, only she and 1 juvenile male remained. The others were gone, buried, burned, or fled into the chaos. The world was unrecognizable. Where there had been forest, now there was ash and rubble. The stream where she'd drunk that morning was gone, filled with debris and boiling from the heat of buried ejecta. Strange sounds echoed through the twilight. Hadrosaurs calling for their herds. The roar of a Tyrannosaurus, confused and angry. The screech of pteranodons wheeling through smoke-choked air. But there was something else, something none of them had ever experienced. It started to snow. Except it wasn't snow, It was ash, billions of tons of it settling from the sky like a gray burial shroud. It coated everything, got into eyes and nostrils, made breathing difficult. The temperature was dropping rapidly. From a blistering 500 degrees during the burning sky, it plummeted. 100 degrees, 80, 60. Dinosaurs were not like modern reptiles. Many scientists believe they were warm-blooded, able to regulate their temperature. But nothing in 165 million years of evolution had prepared them for cold like this. The first night after impact was the coldest night in 100 million years, and it would only get colder. 1 week after impact, the sky was black at noon. The ash and debris in the atmosphere had created a layer so thick that only about 1% of sunlight could penetrate. Global temperatures dropped below freezing, and without sunlight, the plants began to die. Scar was starving. A Triceratops needed to eat hundreds of pounds of plants every day. But everything was dead or dying, covered in toxic ash. She chewed on bark, on roots, on anything that might have calories. The plant eaters died first. Without vegetation, the great herds of hadrosaurs, the ankylosaurs, the pachycephalosaurs, they all began to fail. Some from starvation, others from the cold, many from the toxic ash that filled their lungs. The predators survived longer. A Tyrannosaurus rex could gorge on a single kill and go weeks without eating, but there were only so many carcasses, and nothing new was being born. 3 months after impact, the world had become an alien place. Tropical forests were frozen solid. The poles were buried under ice miles thick. The oceans, deprived of sunlight, saw their plankton die, and with them the base of the entire marine food web collapsed. Massive mosasaurs washed ashore dead. Ammonites, the spiral-shelled cephalopods that had thrived for 300 million years, disappeared from the seas. Scar had survived 4 months. The juvenile male had died weeks ago. She was alone now, too weak to move far, slowly freezing in the perpetual twilight. She'd lived through drought and flood. She'd fought off predators and raised young. She'd survived for 30 years on a dangerous planet. But she couldn't survive without the sun. The impact winter lasted for years, perhaps decades. 75% of all species on Earth went extinct. But extinction is never complete. In the rubble of the dinosaur empire, some creatures survived. The mammals, small, furry, warm-blooded creatures that lived in burrows and could survive on insects and seeds. They endured. They'd spent 150 million years hiding from dinosaurs. Now, with the giants gone, their moment had arrived. The birds survived. Descendants of theropod dinosaurs themselves, already adapted for flight, able to migrate away from the worst devastation and eat a variety of foods. Crocodiles survived. Able to go months without food, comfortable in water and on land, they slipped through the extinction event almost unchanged. In the deepest oceans, where sunlight never reached anyway, life around hydrothermal vents continued as if nothing had happened. And slowly, very slowly, the ash settled. The debris fell from the sky. And eventually, after years of darkness, the sun returned. Plants began to grow again. Ferns first. They always recover first after catastrophes. Then trees, flowers, grass. But the world that emerged was not the world that had been. The dinosaurs were gone. In their place, mammals began to evolve, to diversify, to grow larger. Within 10 million years, a blink in geological time, the ancestors of horses, whales, bats, and primates had appeared. And eventually, because of that terrible day 66 million years ago, because of the sky that burned, we appeared. We know about Scar and her kind because of the rocks. The impact left a layer of iridium, a rare element common in asteroids, in rock layers all over the world. Below that layer, dinosaurs. Above it, nothing. It's called the KT boundary, the line that separates the age of reptiles from the age of mammals. You can see it in cliffs, in quarries, in road cuts, a thin line of gray clay that represents the worst day in Earth's history. The dinosaurs dominated Earth for 165 million years. Our entire species, Homo sapiens, has existed for only 300,000 years. We are not even a footnote in their story. They were powerful, successful, and perfectly adapted to their world. But when that world changed, in an instant, size and strength meant nothing. The same sky that warmed the dinosaurs for millions of years turned against them in a single morning. The sun that fed the plants they ate vanished behind a curtain of ash. The climate that had remained stable for eons shifted in months. We live beneath the same sky. We orbit the same sun. We share the same fragile atmosphere. But unlike the dinosaurs, we can see the threats coming. We can track the asteroids. We can study the climate. We can choose to protect the world we inherited. Because somewhere up there, in the vast darkness between planets, there might be another rock, 6 miles wide, moving at 45,000 miles per hour, heading this way. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into Earth's most incredible moments. What extinction event should we cover next? The Great Dying? The Ice Age? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. And remember, the dinosaurs didn't have a choice. We do. Share this video to remind someone that our time on this planet is precious. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.